Guys, I love that song, man. And I know, Doug, that you don't speak Spanish, but basically what this song means, I did everything in my life the way I wanted it to be. You know, I did it my way. In other words, like that song by Frank Sinatra, but this is the country western, the corrido portion of our culture. I did it my way. I did it my way. Beautiful song. And guys, and that segues into what I want to do real quick. But before we do, Bobby, once again, brother, great to see you. Doug, great to see you. Big Sean, great to see you. And we have a special guest, and I'll be doing this presentation. But Grant, guys, you always see Grant always posting something. He always has really intelligent questions, and some not so intelligent, but the majority of them are very intelligent, informative questions that he's always posting. And you know what? We're going to introduce him right now, but we're going to learn a lot. But before we do, those of you that got a chance to watch last night, the Gray Line, I honored a very special man in my life. And today I want to do a special honor. And I want to do something that we do for all of our warriors. On Monday, 11/3/2025, at approximately 1500 hours, my uncle, who I called a tío, and I'm sure that all of us have a relative, a tío, especially Latinos, we always gravitate to having a tío, an uncle that we look up to as our second father. And my uncle Manuel was born July 3rd, 1933 in Chihuahua, Mexico. And he was that man that we all looked up to him. He was 93 years old when he passed away on Monday. He was that man that back in probably 1960, him and my father were living in Mexico. They crossed into the United States. They opened up a construction company called Contreras Concrete. And they basically got their citizenship and immediately bought a truck, bought a couple of wheelbarrows, and started working construction. He was probably him, my father, my uncle Tony, my other uncle, who already passed away also, were probably the hardest working men in San Diego. They had a great work ethic, but not only that, they were very honest men. And because of their honesty, they never lacked work. They never lacked work. They were very hardworking men. And he's that man that was my brother, him, the three brothers, Manuel, Tony, and David. They were very, very close. My uncle Tony passed away first. My dad passed away 16 years ago, January 8th of 2009. And after my father passed away, my uncle adopted me and my two sisters. And as you see right there, those are my two sisters right there. We're having breakfast with him a month ago. That's him and I. Last was approximately a month ago. And what happened was when I was teaching that PTSD suicide class for Benny's conference in Palm Springs, on the last day, I rented a car. I got up at 5 in the morning because I felt it in my heart that I probably was not going to see my uncle ever again. He's 93 years old. His health was declining, and I picked up my sisters. We took them to breakfast, and we had beautiful conversations. And those of you that have a tío, that have an uncle that you love with all your heart and your soul, that has adopted you as a second son, he was that man that literally I would call him once or twice a week for 16 years. Once or twice a week, he would hear my voice. I would hear the stories. He would tell me the stories when he was a kid, when my dad was young. We'd laugh, we'd cry, and we had beautiful conversations. The past 3 months, he was sick, getting sick. His health declined. I couldn't talk to him as much, but like I said, I had the honor to speak with him and speak with him and talk to him and hug him. As you can see right there, I'm hugging him for the last time, and it was an honor. But I want to end it with this real quick. You know, when my father died in 2009, I don't know how many of you have gone through the pain of losing a father. To me, it was very hard. I was in the room when he passed, and right before he took his last breath, I held his hand and I whispered in his ear. And instead of telling him that I loved him, I wasn't living for God at the time. I whispered in his ear and I told him that I was sorry. That I was sorry. Those were the last words that he heard from me, that I was sorry that I didn't follow after his footsteps because he was a pastor. He was a man of God. He was a good man. Those were the last words. I let go of his arm. Within seconds, he passed away. My nephew Jonathan was holding him as he passed away. And a month ago, when I was with my Uncle Manuel's, you could see that picture. As I'm there with my uncle, I whispered in his ear and I go, Theo, I don't know who's going to go first, if you're going to go first or if I'm going to go first, but if you beat me and if you die first, this is a month ago, I go, please tell my father that I accepted the Lord again. And I'm trying my best to live for him. But I'm going to see him again because when he died, I didn't tell him I was going to see him because I wasn't sure, because I wasn't living for God. But those are my last words to my uncle. And there's no doubt at all in my mind that when he saw my dad Monday at 3 o'clock, when he saw him, I'm sure he relayed that message.
Amen.
Yes, he did.
Amen.
Real quick, what we do in the boxing world, I have a boxing show, as you can see, it's called Los Tres Chingones. Every time a boxer, a champion, a warrior dies, in the boxing world, they do a 10 count in honor of the warrior. And right now, I'm going to do the 10 count, and then we're going to do a special toast in his honor. May he rest in paradise. And here we go. Tío Manuel, en su honor, salud. May you rest in paradise.
Salud.
And I know that it's been a little long, but you know what? In our show, and that's why we started the show, to honor legends, not only in law enforcement, but our personal loved ones that have passed away. We honor them with respect, dignity. We honor our warriors. And guys, with that said, I'm going to change the mood a little bit. Let's go around the room real quick, and we'll start off with you, Grant. I know you were telling me that you're drinking a special drink. What are you drinking today?
This is Rear Admiral Joseph's Original London Dry Gin, which is the Trader Joe's brand.
Nice.
So I have gin and tonic right here.
Gin and tonic. All right, great. Big
There you
Sean, what do you got, Big Sean?
Well, I'm finishing up my bottle of Duke whiskey bourbon. And, not to outdo you, Dave, but you know what? You've been wearing a hat for the past couple of weeks. I figured it's time to wear a cowboy.
All right. Hey, Sean, but you know what? It can't be just for every week. It's for every show now. Because this is
I know.
I love that hat, dude. Is that the John Wayne hat? I love that.
That's a Stetson. Yes, it is.
I gotta start wearing a hat now.
There we go.
Yeah, Doug.
Now, Doug, don't come in next week with a wig, Doug. Don't come in with a wig. All right, Big Doug, you're the man that buys the $300 bottles. What do you got today, brother?
Well, this one's going to be a little outside what I normally drink. It's Cooper's Mark. It's a Kentucky bourbon, but
Okay.
it's their Golden Colony honey. So obviously it tastes like honey. So you remember as a kid, did you ever eat those candies, Bitto honeys? They're like a little test.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the liquid version, alcohol version of Bitto honeys.
Wow. Okay.
So it's pretty good. I mean, I think I can get a glass. I can get this down. Nothing more than that, probably, because it's kind of sweet. But it's actually, if you want something light, it's pretty good. But it's like Bitto honey.
So what's the name of it again? Can you show the bottle again, Doug?
Yeah, it's called Cooper's Mark.
Cooper's Mark.
I'll look for it. Yeah.
Okay, now I got to add another one to my list.
There you go.
That's right. That's right. Bobby, what are you smoking and what are you drinking?
Smoking the Agnarosa leaf, Connecticut. I love these. The Agnarosa leaf cigars are really good. I love them.
Great cigar.
And I'm drinking a Carajillo. It's a hot one. Normally, you're supposed to drink it cold. It's like a whiskey glass with some ice, about 2-3 ounces of licor 43 from Spain. It's a bittersweet citrus flavor with a shot of espresso over the top. But I just felt like drinking it hot, so I put it in a coffee mug. So it's called a carajillo. I think you drank them in Mexico.
Oh yes, very famous in Mexico.
Very, that's what I'm drinking.
So how does it match your cigar? Because you know what I've had, Aryan Rosa, it's a great cigar with Scotch. How does it match with your drink today?
I love it. It's the Aryan Rosa, the one I'm smoking right now, is a Connecticut. It has like a cedar earthy taste to it.
Yeah.
Love it. I smoked this one quite a bit.
Well, guys, today because of my uncle's, in honor of his honor, I actually went to Costco and I bought this pretty expensive bottle. I've never had Johnny's Blue Label. I've had others equivalent to that. Glenmorangi's my drink. Never had Blue Label, but I bought it in his honor because I knew that tonight I was going to do a special toast in his honor. So in his honor, Johnny Blue Label, everybody says it's delicious. I just tasted it, and I'm telling you, it is very, very delicious. But guys, listen, all our listeners, our followers, thank you very much. A lot of you sent condolences. Thank you for your prayers, for your thoughts, and for your kind words. I really appreciate it, and my family appreciates it. But tonight, guys, we have a special guest. I don't know, well, before I talk about what our subject matter is, we got Grant Gruber. Like I said before, he watches all of our shows. I put journalist, but he just made it, just brought it to my attention that he's not a journalist, and he'll explain it. He's a writer. And if you get a chance, there's I'm not sure if you could explain to us what the Substack is, Grant. Please explain to us what the Substack is and how people can subscribe to it.
Yeah, Substack's a platform anyone can join, and you have people on there who are sometimes well-known journalists, well-known public figures. Like today, I was reading a column Alan Dershowitz wrote. He's on Substack. You have people who post cooking recipes, poetry, people who've written books and they publish chapters of books on like a weekly basis. So it's basically anything you want it to be, and it's free to start one, and you can keep your content open to everybody, or you can pay wallet, or you can do some combination thereof. And so what I do is I make my stuff available for the first 30 days for everybody, and then after 30 days, it goes paywalled. And it's $5 a month and $50 annually. So it's there are people who charge a lot more than I do. So it helps the cost of going up to the courthouse, gas and whatnot, all that. So so far it's worked out great. I've been doing this for about 20 months now, and I covered the Sacramento and Fresno Aryan Brotherhood RICO trials, and chronicled the trials on Substack.
Guys, if you guys get a chance, please subscribe. It's only $5 a month. It's definitely worth your money. Every week he puts out, sometimes even twice a week, he'll put out a new article, a new story, and the stories are fascinating. And that's how I met him, and that's how we started basically contacting each other. This is the second time on the show where he basically covered the Sacramento RICO trials on the Aryan Brotherhood, which was outstanding. And I don't know about you guys, Doug, Bobby, and Sean. I worked prison gangs in the institution. I worked a lot. I interviewed and debriefed a lot of Mexican mafia, a couple of NF guys. I didn't work with BGF, and the prisons that I worked, one of them, CMC, there were a couple of AB guys, but they weren't on my tier. They weren't in my building 6, C Quad. And when I got to Donovan, when I activated Donovan, I didn't have any ABs and no BGF. It was more Nuestra Familia, Sureños, and Mexican Mafia. So today, because I don't know much, and I don't know about you, I mean, Doug, Bobby, and Sean, do you guys know a lot about the Aryan Brotherhood?
I just ran into one down in South Bay one time.
I don't I don't even know if I could tell you I've met one.
Yeah, and you know what? You were gangs. I mean, you were with the heavies throughout not only San Diego but Riverside. Yeah, you're absolutely right. What about you, Bobby? Did you ever have any experience with the Aryan Brotherhood?
I never investigated him except the one shooting that I was involved in. The guy that my partner or one of my partners shot and killed was an Aryan Brotherhood, had just gotten released from prison. He had hair down to pretty much his ass and devil worship tattoos and AB tattoos all over him. He was a scary looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah. The only I would call, if you would call them, a prison gang, would be NLR, the Nazi lowriders, were the only ones that I'd ever dealt with at all in San Diego.
Yeah. You know what? Those guys eventually got recruited. Some of them are very few, but into the Aryan Brotherhood.
But other than that, I didn't have any experience with those guys at all.
Well, good. I'm not the only one that's going to learn today.
No,
I'm not. I mean, I've been looking forward. I know we all have our month. This is my month, and he's going to be with us for the next 2 weeks, educating us, and we're going to be learning a lot about the Aryan Brotherhood. Very interesting. But guys, before we get into the Aryan Brotherhood, I want to give a shout out and thank you, because I used a lot of his videos and I used some pictures from Gabe Morales, who has a great show called Gangsters, Cops, and Politicians YouTube channel with Gabe Morales. You know, in the past maybe 2-3 months, he's been doing some great videos. If you guys can, please subscribe to his channel. Great videos on the different prisons. He just did one a couple of days ago on Salinas Valley State Prison. He did one on Donovan, did one on Pelican. He's covering all the state prisons, and they're excellent. Especially the one at Donovan was outstanding. The one on Salinas, I watched it today. Guys, it literally was a 15-minute video. It literally flowed like 3 minutes because it was so good. So please subscribe to his channel. And Gabe, I took the liberty of taking a video from your presentation and a couple of pictures. Like my father used to say, it's better to ask forgiveness than ask permission. So dispensa, carnal.
You learned that in IA. You learned that in internal affairs.
I learned that in IA. You're absolutely right.
That was my career motto.
Hey, it's my model as a husband. You know.
I know.
Hey guys, today once again I got this from his Substack. Reading it, I called him and I go, Grant, you need to take us through this murder. With that said, Grant, it is all yours. Here we go. Take us on the journey.
Well, actually, just to go back to what you guys were talking about, why you guys had so little experience with AB, the answer is it's a very small organization to begin with. Mm-hmm. Only 30 guys. And I actually talked to a former member last year. He said, no, maybe even closer to like 20 or 25 guys. So, that's one of the main reasons. So Todd Morgan, he was named in the Fresno indictment in 2020, and he was charged with drug crimes. So he was at Salinas Valley. He's a full-fledged Aryan Brotherhood member, and he was running, they were doing a lot of interstate drug trafficking in addition to getting drugs brought into the prison and other contraband. And I think this is a good time to cue up the video.
Okay, here we go. Give me a quick second.
Taken out by his own at Salinas Valley State Prison yesterday at approximately 9:52 a.m. Evidently, staff in the recreation yard observed Todd Stomper Givens, Robert Bobby England, and Ray Dog Waldron attacking Todd Fox Morgan with what appeared to be improvised weapons. Staff issued verbal commands to halt the attack, but by the time additional responding staff arrived, the aggressors had already stopped, and Morgan laid limp. He was pronounced deceased approximately 12 minutes later. Officers recovered 3 inmate manufactured weapons at the scene. Morgan, age 57, was received from Santa Clara County in May of 2002. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for second-degree burglary, second-degree robbery, manufacturing, sale, or possession of a firearm, possession of ammunition by an ex-felon, possession of a controlled substance, and was a third striker.
Hey guys, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. That isn't the actual stabbing, and those aren't the weapons. He's just used it as a prop during his presentation. So just FYI.
So Morgan pleaded guilty in 2021, and he got a 21-year federal sentence. But as is often the case in these RICO, these guys don't actually go to the feds; they just stay in CDCR. And so the three perpetrators were Robert Lefty England, Todd Stomper Givens, and Ray Waldron. And Lefty is nicknamed Lefty presumably because he's missing his right hand, as you can see in that photo. And his name came up in the Sacramento trial. Apparently there was a murder plot to get him. So he is apparently an ally of Danny Troxel. We'll be talking about Troxel later in this presentation here. But he was the target of a hit, and CDCR found out and disrupted it. So obviously he ended up then at Salinas Valley.
Hey Grant, was he born without an arm, or was it an accident, or did he get shot like Joe Morgan?
Not sure.
Okay.
Next guy, Todd, he's on death row. And as you can see, he has a giant swastika on his right cheek. He's out of Tulare County. And he's apparently NLR. And then the third guy, Ray Waldron, is out of San Diego and apparently was a Mongols MC member. And so these are all guys who've been down for a long time, and they're taken out in Navy members. So connect the dots. There hasn't been any official releases of information about who ordered the hit, what it was over. So I'd prefer not to speculate about that, but this is very significant because it's the first time it's believed to be the first time in 28 years that a full-fledged AV member got hit in prison. So it's certainly a significant moment. And I'd also say is, given that they've been dropping all these RICO indictments of late, you can probably bet that this would be added to the next one that drops or the next superseding one that drops.
Is there one coming up that you're hearing, or that you're hearing through a grapevine or some of your sources?
Well, see, in Fresno, they've done like 4 superseding indictments on that one. And they just dropped one in this past July, in fact. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're already working on it. I haven't heard anything. They don't call me up and give me any advance notice. So, but I would fully expect this to be added to one at some point.
I was going to ask you, with the Aryan Brotherhood, I mean, I know with the Mexican Mafia, I know that for a fact, they have to, if they get a Sureño, for example, or they get somebody to hit a carnal, hit a brother, they have to get permission from everyone, not just one brother. They have to get from the organization. Do you know if it's the same with the Aryan Brotherhood?
In theory, you have to run it by the commission. What we learned in both Sacramento and Fresno, though, is the commission may be more myth than reality. And it's been, we heard testimony from CDCR Special Service Unit agents that they said the commission had actually been disbanded at various times. And who's actually on the commission is sometimes in dispute. And sometimes guys kind of just call themselves commissioners. So it's really open to debate. The other thing you got to remember is 5 pretty senior members of the AB who got named in the Sacramento indictment got jurisdictionally shifted to federal prison. First time that's happened. And so obviously that would, in theory, create 5 vacancies in the California. One thing, by the way, is the Aryan Brotherhood operates by prison system. So California is independent. There's other Aryan Brotherhoods, but they are independent of each other. So just because a guy's an AB guy in California doesn't mean he would automatically be recognized as an AB guy in New Mexico or Texas, right? And vice versa. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, there's stories of like, I heard one where an Arizona AB guy comes into California, he has AB tattoos, and he's told to remove them immediately. He is not recognized as a brother. So that's an important.
Hey, Grant, you said earlier there's probably about 20 to 30 AB guys. Are you talking about in California?
Yes, California, full-fledged California guys.
And what about the federal system?
I don't know.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Bobby.
That's a much bigger prison system, so it might be more, but I've never heard any numbers about the feds.
That's interesting.
I remember hearing Ray Walden's name as a Mongol in San Diego. Now, when he went, when let's say a 1%er goes into the CDC, do they automatically become an AB, or are they looked at it or whatever? Because he's a Mongol and he's in an AB.
Yeah, the 1%er question is an interesting one. The Mongols, my understanding was they formed in response to being viewed as not worthy for the HAs. So they were, and that's why they have that famous rivalry with the Hells Angels. I've heard all sorts of things about whether guys who go in as 1%ers, I think it's so circumstantial. Really depends on each guy and how they're perceived. I do know there was guys in the California AB who have ties to members of the Hells Angels. So it just really depends.
And you know what? Shout out once again to gangs, cops, and politicians. Gabe Morales. He says I dealt with a few AB in my day. I'm sure you did, Gabe. I mean, you started at Folsom, and that's where all these guys were at one time. And then they opened Pelican Bay. They all went over there. So that's why you know so much about the Aryan Brotherhood, because you got a chance to work these individuals. Very interesting. And with that said, guys, anything else? Any questions, guys? Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
In Arizona, before we had the split with the Mexican mafia, there used to be the Mexican mafia, then it split, where there was the old and the new. Back when it was the old, there were not very many, even before it split off, there were not a lot of carnales. There was a lot of guys that they call esquina, but carnales, there were not. I remember interviewing a guy, and he says, the less people we have, the less people we have snitching. We'll only take the most hardcore. When the new Mexican mafia took over, they went out and just started mass recruiting, and eventually the old died off. But then, of course, with that new generation, all of them were flipping. It was like they get caught, they all flip. So I think that's probably maybe one of their strategies. Only the hardcore to prevent people talking.
Not only hardcore, but also smart.
Yes,
because you've seen the legal acumen of these guys, and which we're about to get into. The things they've done. These are guys who are very well versed in the law and very shrewd and tactical type thinkers.
We have a good comment from Darren, who one of our faithful listeners, going to be on our show in January, talking about the PSA airplane crash in San Diego. He says, "Is AB also the woodpeckers or a different level?" And I think if anybody wants to go ahead and jump on this, I mean, they are totally different levels. I mean, the woodpeckers, they're like the Crips, and then you got the BGF, which is at a higher level. And I think it's probably about the same, right, Grant? The Aryan Brotherhood and the woodpeckers?
Does he mean
Peckerwoods?
Peckerwoods.
Yeah, he means woodpeckers. Peckerwoods.
Peckerwoods or just woods is a term that white guys in prison, white guys in good standing in prison.
Yeah,
and so
Peckerwoods, not woodpeckers. Peckerwoods.
Yeah, the AB is at the top of the food chain, top of the totem pole. The Peckerwood is any white guy in good standing in prison.
I'm glad you guys caught it, because I was going woodpecker, but you're right, Peckerwoods. Go ahead, Douglas.
There was a club. There was a motorcycle club. I don't know if we would call them an OMG or not, or there may have been a puppet club. But I would see cuts with Peckerwoods coming out of East County in San Diego. This was many years ago. So, who knows?
I think those guys are still active.
The Peckerwoods, yeah. I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything with that in probably 30 years, but we used to see them quite often in East San Diego.
Yeah, you occasionally see one wearing their cut while they're riding. Yeah, yeah.
And you know, Doug, when I was working the joint back in '85, all the white guys were known as Peckerwoods.
Yeah.
I mean, you would go, hey, Peckerwood, and then the Chicanos, they were known as the Chicans. They were known, hey, Chican, no Sureño. The Sureños were around, but he's a Chican, he's a Peckerwood, you know.
Yeah.
And the Border Brothers were known as Paisas. They were known as Paisas, which is now pretty common to hear. Here we have Gabe saying Waldron was with the Mongols and the NLR. I guess dual membership. Have you guys ever heard of something like that? Dual membership, and then eventually get recruited by the Aryan Brotherhood?
Yeah, I mean the NLR was originally meant to be the farm team for the brand.
Yeah.
And as you're talking about in Arizona, kind of the same thing happened. Is they really started recruiting guys, and then they ended up being at odds with the brand at one point. So.
Wow. Now, Benny Cruz worked patrol in East County, Lakeside, that area, and he had a lot of Aryan Brotherhood, a lot of Hell's Angels there. So he had the experience, but in San Diego, we never did. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was one of the lead investigators on a Hell's Angels wiretap, and they had a guy that was an AB that they were selling dope to, but that guy was trying to hook up one of his buddies, and the Hell's Angels, they would always say, I never heard Pecker. I was going to say Woodpecker again because instead of Peckerwood, they would say, is he a good chuck, like a chuck nut? And they'd say that a lot. That's what the Hell's Angels, if they're talking about someone, he's a good chuck nut. And I was like, okay. But that was one of the code words. And for the Skull Valley chapter Hell's Angels case we did here in Phoenix. But
was that Operation Black Biscuit?
Yeah, Black Biscuit.
Yeah, Jay Dobbins.
Yeah.
Black Biscuit was one. Yeah, we did what did we call ours? I don't remember. Ours was Skull Valley, Billy Long, Jay Dobbins. Billy Long was involved in the Black Biscuit case. He was a Phoenix guy, and he was my partner in Gang Squad before he went over to do the UC work.
Interesting.
Well, guys, that's going to segue us into another one of his. He did one article on the murder, but now we're going to go back to October. We're going to go back to where he wrote another great article called The Aryan Brotherhood Timeline. And I know we're not going to be finishing it today because we're going to go back 16 years to the year 2009, but he's going to take us through from 2009 to where we're at today with the timeline of the Aryan Brotherhood. Like I said, if you want to read it, $5 a month, please subscribe. This is a great article on the Aryan Brotherhood timeline. With that said, it's all yours. Take us on this journey.
All right. Well, these two men were pretty much two of the most architects of the very significant Todd Ashker versus Governor of California lawsuit. And so just to lay the foundation here, 2002, the United States Attorney for the Central District of California, which is a Los Angeles-based district, dropped an indictment around 40 full-fledged Aryan Brotherhood members and associates. And so this is the Barry Mills case, for those of you who are familiar with it. And so basically all the case gets adjudicated around 2008. All of the cases, basically people plead out, people are tried and convicted, and then they actually dismissed several defendants from the case. So all of the California AB guys who were named in this includes John Stinson, Robert Griffin, Scott Grizzle, Gary Luttrell, Richard Terfelinger, are all returned to Pelican Bay. So they're still in the custody of the state of California. And so you start to see now what's going on. This is like their next campaign. And so the Ashker lawsuit, because he's in alphabetical order, the first named plaintiff, there were multiple, is actually a class action lawsuit. So it's filed, and it basically says the SHU, the security housing unit, these are indeterminate SHU terms, are unconstitutional. They violate the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. So the person you see on the left in that photo is Danny Troxel. Troxel, you don't hear much about Troxel. On the guy on the right, on the other hand, is Todd Ashker. You've probably seen him. He was on 60 Minutes. He's kind of a celebrity inmate in many ways. But Todd Ashker cannot actually write. He got shot by a Pelican Bay correctional officer sometime around 1990 and lost the ability to write with his hand. So his cellmate, Danny Troxel, was the guy doing the writing. And apparently the two of them make a formidable team. And so they filed this lawsuit in 2009, which then gets us to, and you start to see how they're now in the infant stages of what would ultimately end up becoming the Ashker settlement.
Hey, Grant, before we go into the 2010 and we go from there, can you explain to our viewers what the SHU program is, how it got started, and what you know about it? And we can also jump in with our knowledge on the SHU program.
My understanding was it was started in the 70s, and they would validate guys as prison gang members. And over time, they had dedicated housing units, like at Old Folsom, where they would take a tier and call it the SHU. And then as California began its prison building boom in the 1980s, they decided to build dedicated SHU facilities. And so they have SHUs at Pelican Bay, of course, is probably the most notorious, most well-known. They actually have a dedicated standalone SHU. At other prisons, the SHU is sometimes just part of a building or whatnot. And so Pelican Bay was the place where they decided you'd be locked down for 23 hours a day. You get released individually. You don't actually see the sunlight. You're in those dog runs, as they call them. It was meant to isolate these guys from the rest of the prison population. It opened in 1989. And one of the interesting things that happened is, even though you'd think this is a place that is not desirable, you'd want to get out of the Pelican Bay as soon as you could. A lot of prison gangs, including both the Aryan Brotherhood and Nuestra Familia, actually basically made it a requirement for their members to be housed at Pelican Bay. And we heard testimony in the case that guys were ordered to report to Pelican Bay, and if they didn't, they were going to be in bad standing. So everybody ended up there. And so around 2006, CDCR implemented the short corridor program, where they basically put all the heavy hitters on the same corridor. And so that's where a lot of this planning began for the Ashker litigation. And then we'll get to the hunger strikes. So they and these were guys from all of the different groups: Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, excuse me, Aryan Brotherhood, and BGF.
Grant, I got a question.
Sure.
Did it ever come up as an argument against their case that if these guys were required to go there, that there was a point to where they wanted to be there? So how was it considered unusual punishment if they were there? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making it at your home and all your buddies are going to be there, everybody's going to be there so that you can do your stuff. How is that cruel and unusual?
Nobody said they were internally consistent.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know where they use the cruel and unusual, because all they would give them was very little reading material. This is according to what they were calling cruel and unusual. They were only giving them, I believe, 1 hour a day where they could go out and get some sun. They weren't allowed to speak with other inmates other than with their cellie. That's what they were calling cruel and unusual. When you take them to Mexico, to a Mexican prison, or take them to El Salvador and see what cruel and unusual is compared to those prisons today. Right, Bobby?
Yeah, I've seen prisons overseas where people have to sleep in shifts. Not everybody can lay down at the same time. There's not enough room. So people stand up. I saw that in Iraq. I saw that in Haiti. So you sleep in shifts. Some people stand up while everybody else lays down. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why they basically, the Department of Correction did something. Finally, they did something good, that was working. All the prison gang members that were validated, once they were validated, and we can talk about that on later show, how they validate them. They basically segregated them from general population and put them in certain prisons. And like Grant said, in 1989, when Pelican Bay opened, that was the perfect location. It's basically away from major cities, and that's where they send all these prison gang members, and that's where they basically segregate them in one cell. And that's why whenever we have Batman on our show, Jim DeJanis, that's why he's so special, because he was there when all this started in Pelican Bay. We're going to bring him back so he could just talk about the SHU program. So those of you that are not too familiar can understand everything Jim has talked about. This is where it ended up at Pelican Bay. And with that said, you know what? We have a quick question for Benny, and then we're going to go on the hunger strike. Benny's saying, dude, last name Grizzle, I believe AB was arrested and prosecuted for the murder in San Diego, San Carlos area. He was hiding out in Lakeside. Can't remember the year. Does anybody remember that? Do you know anything about that, Grant? Grizzle?
It's on my timeline. I think we'll be talking about that in depth next week. But
Okay.
Short version
was he from San Diego?
Scott Rascal Grizzle. He's actually originally from San Luis Obispo, but his wife that he had married in prison lived in the San Diego area. I've interviewed her, Brenda Riley.
Okay.
Very, very kind and generous woman, by the way. She's divorced from him now. But yeah, he won his appeal actually roughly about 10 years ago to the day. It was around early November of 2015. He won an appeal and his conviction was vacated. And whatever happened, the district attorney's office failed to refile. He got released immediately right there on the spot from Corcoran. He ended up in San Diego. And we heard a lot of testimony about him in Sacramento. He was on a sick one for 8 months. There are some stories about the guy I could probably share next week would be better.
Okay, we'll go next week. But Benny, you got a great memory, my friend. Great memory. That's good.
Yeah, but the incident happened in May of 2016, and he was arrested in June of 2016. He was prosecuted in 2017. He's got a 159-year to life sentence.
Well, you remember that too, Sean?
No, I was going to ask, what year was the 187 in San Carlos?
May 10th, 2016. Let me check.
Man, Benny has a good memory, huh?
It's on the timeline. May 11th, 2016.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it next week. Okay, so now we got Ashker, we got Truxell. They're writing this appeal. So now the appeal's going. 2009.
It's a class action lawsuit.
Class action lawsuit. So then what happens?
So hand in hand with that, this was really kind of a three-pronged strategy. You got the lawsuit going, then they do the hunger strike. So if you're familiar with the name Bobby Sands,
Yep.
Irish Republican Army figure, and he led a hunger strike so Northern Ireland kind of invented the SHU, what they call the troubles between the IRA and the Northern Ireland government. They put all the IRA guys in the H blocks, which if you've ever read about the H blocks, I mean, the conditions in there were horrific. And so the IRA guys led a hunger strike that in 1980, and ultimately Bobby Sands ended up dying. He died, his bowels exploded. It was pretty gruesome death.
Wow.
I believe it was Mays Prison. Yeah, Mays Prison.
Yeah, he was he had gotten elected while in prison as a member of parliament. He had quite a following. And so there was a book written about him called Nothing But an Unfinished Song. And Todd Ashker read it, and that was the inspiration for the hunger strikes.
Wow.
And so they actually gave a notice in April of 2011 saying, we're doing this. And so they got with all the groups, and we've heard conflicting accounts. There are some people who said these guys went all the way. They actually it was the real deal. Other people said they stashed, guys had hidden food stashes, but they were not accepting the CDCR meal that would come to your cell every day, right? Those would be rejected. But some guys may have gotten food from commissary or whatever. But there were guys who are the real deal, and I think Todd Ashker was one of them. And
so Grant, did this only happen in Pelican Bay, or did it happen throughout CDCR?
It happened throughout CDCR.
Really? So during that time, they had over 164,000 inmates.
Yeah, so there's a documentary
CDCR.
there was a documentary released earlier this year that chronicles the hunger strikes. It's shall we say, omits some key information in my opinion. It doesn't use the word prison gang at all, and it certainly tells maybe about half the story. It's very pro prisoner, but it does have footage, and it does show the meetings where the CDCR officials were meeting with the inmate representatives, and what was going on is they were started to get a lot of pressure from Sacramento. So the other thing to keep in mind here is Jerry Brown came back into office in January of 2011, right? Jerry Brown had a much different view of the prison system than the previous 4 governors. And I think these guys made the calculated decision that the hunger strikes would be, Jerry Brown would be more receptive to negotiating and listening to them than any of the previous 4 governors.
So in 2012, the first one was in July, and it was for 15 days. And then the fat bastard said, hey, forget it, we got to eat. The second one was in October for 16 days. And then the skinny bastard said, hey, no, man, we got to eat. So they literally, supposedly, did not eat from July, 15 days, and then October, another 16 days. Was it during this time that they ordered all the inmates throughout CDCR to join this hunger strike, or did it only start in Pelican Bay, then it moved on to other prisons?
I think the idea was if you wanted to be in good standing, if you wanted to maybe have status, have influence, you wanted to at least participate or at least present the appearance that you're participating. But so the first one ended because they got a negotiation meeting with CDCR. And so, you know, it was like a truce, right? A ceasefire, essentially. And so they keep negotiating. They don't feel they're getting what they want. So they launch the second one. And then that leads to another round of negotiations. And again, back to that documentary, they show in Sacramento some legislative sessions where CDCR officials are getting just, you know, lambasted at committee hearings by state legislators. And the state legislature was putting a lot of pressure on these guys to acquiesce to the inmate demands.
So the first 15 months, then it's 15 days, 16. So now we go to 2012. And this is very interesting. Guys, you guys will find this one very interesting. In 2012, we have 10 representatives from the Aryan Brotherhood, Black Guerrilla Family, Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, and for the first time since the inception of these prison gangs from 1957, 1960, 1967, 68, when these gangs originated, they basically form an alliance and they sign not a peace agreement, but they sign a end of hostilities agreement. They join forces now against CDCR to close the SHU program. First time ever that's ever happened. Can you tell us about that? Take us on that journey. That's very interesting for these guys who have been enemies for over 50 years to have one cause make them one.
Well, I guess the first thing I should say is usually when these groups commit acts of violence, they do it against their own folks. So they don't really, the idea of when you start crossing one group attacking the other, that, like you saw the famous Pelican Bay, the 2000 riot between the blacks and the Southern Mexicans, right? That's, you know, the worst case scenario, right? And then everybody gets locked down and you can't do business. And so the end of it, hostilities was really kind of, what I would say is kind of making something formal that was kind of de facto. And I think it has more for the press, also the PR value of it, to say, hey, look, we got together. We put aside our differences. We're not doing any more racial violence. But as we'll see, perhaps next week, Hugo Pinell, there was
we're going to go there. We're going to go there next week on that one.
Yeah, so there were maybe some secret provisions in there that exempted certain people from.
So it's like the old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes.
Perhaps, yeah.
So CDC's the commonality is that they're the bad guys. So let's just get our shit together for now and go after the one entity, and then we'll decide what we're going to do later on after we fix what we want to fix.
Exactly. Yes, I
So
think that's
now-
a very.
Now they're united. It's a hunger strike throughout the Department of Corrections, but specifically Pelican Bay. And that's where Batman was at. That's where Jim was at. But 2013, something happens. Now the hunger strike isn't 15 days. Now it isn't 17 days. Now we go 59 days. And this is the stick that broke the camel's back. Take us on that journey.
Yeah, it's just, I think this is the point where they realized they had maximum leverage over the elected officials in Sacramento, and this is where they could finally get what they wanted. They could force them to settle the Ashker litigation and end indeterminate shoe terms. And their calculation proved to be correct.
So after 59 days, what happens? Who signs it off? Do they open up the prisons? What happens?
Yeah, it's what we heard in the Sacramento trial was around 2015. That's when CD Star starts moving guys out who had been in the shoe for years, if not decades, out to general population yards throughout the state of California. And for the Aryan Brotherhood, a lot of these guys ended up at New Folsom and Kern Valley. And these guys immediately began implementing cleaning up the program, right? On a lot of these yards, they were called loose yards, right? Where you had a lot of drug debts. Guys weren't, programming the way they should be programming. And so they started a lot of what do they call it? A sacrificial lambs, right? Where they make an example out of somebody who had run up a drug debt, and so one of the interesting things we heard about this in the Fresno case is two of the 8 members were Frank Clement and Kenneth Johnson. They ended up at Kern Valley, and the first thing they did is they wanted to find out all the drug debt, tally up the drug debt, find out who the biggest dope fiends were who'd run up the drug debt, and take that person out. And sure enough, they did. And next thing you know, everybody on that yard, at least among the white inmates, wanted to square up their drug debt. So they sent a message real quick, and the message was received.
So CDCR basically said, you know what, you're absolutely right. We're going to get rid of the shoe program, and all these prison gang members, we're going to spread them out. And a lot of the Aryan Brotherhood ended up in New Folsom, and this is where we're going to stop. This is next week. We're going to pick up on the 2015 shoe inmates that moved to general population Folsom and the killing of a vicious individual with the Black Gorilla family. We're going to start off there next week. Brother, thank you very much for taking us on this journey. It was a very interesting, to me, like I said, I don't know much. I've gone to a lot of classes. I've heard a lot, but never really paid attention. And especially with the shoe war, I mean, the shoe program, the hunger strikes, very interesting. Bobby, any last words or any questions for Grant before we let him go for next week?
No, prison life is a world within a world. I have a lot of respect for our corrections officers because they live in there. They're down and dirty, face to face with these guys. And when I worked on the Mexican Mafia Prison Gang Task Force, it really opened my eyes, the life that happens there and how it affects crime out on the street. So thanks for joining us, Grant. I just subscribed to your Substack. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And Grant, there's no greater compliment than from this man right here, man. Jim DeJanis. I mean, this man was there. He lived it, he smelled it, he tasted it. Dude, great interview. Thanks, Grant, from this man, a legend. No greater compliment than that. Big Doug, any questions, any last comments, my brother?
I got a question for Grant real quick. Is how did you get interested in the AB? What brought you to going to the trials and such?
2015, I read an appeal out of Contra Costa County, and it was like you can see it. There's a Killer Chronicles episode about the family affiliated Irish mafia, and there's a murder case. And long story short, I was like, wow, this reads like a script for a mob movie. So I started doing a whole bunch of research on it, and ended up writing a screenplay about it. And along the way, I kind of realized I don't really know enough about this topic. So I started interviewing people. I went down to the courthouse, dug through and the name Ronnie Yandell keeps coming up. And I see the name Aryan Brotherhood. And I started seeing names, and it's like, okay, so I started Googling and researching those guys. And then the 2019 Sacramento indictment came down, and it's all about Ronnie. It's all about, there's a lot of references to the family affiliated Irish mafia, and you start to see how the pieces start to fit. It's like, wow. So I started following it. And then I saw the trial, and it just so happens I was changing jobs. So I had some free time on my hand. And so I decided, why not go up to Sacramento and check it out? And I thought I'd just show up for a day or two. And I realized, it turned out to be, I ended up going to like 20 some odd days of the trial. And it was just, I mean, just unbelievable, some of the testimony in that case.
Nice.
Yep.
Big Sean, any last words, any comments?
There's no Irish mafia. It's just the Irish. Okay. No, hey, thank you, Grant. This is an interesting topic because like Dave said it at the beginning of the show, we don't really deal with the AB at all.
No.
Or we haven't. I don't know about Bobby and them, but I know that Doug and I and Dave never dealt with them exclusively as an entity. So yeah, it's super interesting. Thank you, Grant.
And guys, Bobby, what I recommend, Bobby, since you just subscribed, please read October 13. Grant wrote one on the true crime writer down to the bone on the murder of the McStay family. There, I believe it was in Riverside. That right there, we're going to bring you back to talk about that, about what you wrote on that murder. My God, that is a great case. That's not prison gang related, but great. Go ahead, Bobby.
The Substack is a great source. I read a lot of Substack. A lot of people that are leaving mainstream news are opening up their own Substack and aligning it with their podcast. So I'm really excited to read that. Leo Silva, retired DEA agent who's been on our show, I just subscribed to his last week. He has some really good information on there. So for people who are news nerds or whatever, like to look in deep dive, you can get some really good material from the Substack. So thanks again, Grant.
And Bobby, there's a guy by the name of Ian Grillo. I think you're trying to get him on our show. He also writes on the Substack.
Yes.
Great stuff too, right?
Yes, he does a lot of really good stuff on Substack. And for me, I do freelance media work in English and Spanish. So Substack and Twitter for me are great sources, even more than what I get in the news. The news that you watch is always 12 to 36 hours behind of what's really happening.
Yeah. Hey, Grant, thank you once again, brother. We will see you next week. We'll start off where we left off, but I'm telling you, we're bringing you back. I want to do that one story on the McStay family. And I think Doug would find that very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you worked that. Did you work that case, Doug?
You know what? I don't think I did, but I've heard of it. So,
McStay's?
McStay, remember them? The family, the kids were murdered.
Which one's
Yeah.
that?
San Diego County Sheriff worked the case.
Yeah, it's a San Diego SO case.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it. What was the kids?
McStay.
McStay.
Oh,
Summarizes-
McStay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Family disappeared
Yeah,
in
no, I-
2010, and then San Diego investigated the case. They couldn't figure it out, and then the bodies were found in a shallow grave in the high desert in San Bernardino County in
San Bernardino?
2015.
Oh, San Bernardino case.
Was it like his business partner they suspected?
Yeah.
or
Yes.
something like that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I did not work any of that case, but I read about it. Yeah.
We're
Well, the
bringing
book-
you back from that one. Please don't
Yeah.
no more talking about it because you're going to come back. And we're gonna, dude, I can't wait for that one, man. You're coming.
That
back
one's
to
good. That one's going to be good.
It was. Hey, brother, once again, thank you. God bless you, and we'll see you next week, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Grant.
Take it easy, Grant. All right. Hey guys, man, very interesting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
week's are really good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Guys,
I,
go ahead.
I know nothing about AB other than what
Neither do
people
I.
tell. I know for a fact I never met any of those guys.
Yeah.
Phoenix, at Phoenix
They get-
PD, we had an
Go ahead,
intel
Bill.
unit that did, excuse me, we had a intel unit that did, well, I'm going to do Mexican Mafia. I'm going to do AB. I'm going to do Gypsy. We actually had somebody that look at gypsies because they're a big problem with fraud, staging accidents, and all that other crap here. But yeah, I didn't know anything about the AB.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were exclusive to states. That they didn't recognize you if you came
Yeah.
from another state.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That
Yeah,
is.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Like you got to have your tattoo removed. Holy cow!
Yeah. You know, we always thought that the AB were like, and it's interesting with the Mongol guys, and with the Mongol, Ray Walden, you know, because he's a Mongol. But like Benny said, some of the HAs kind of like were affiliated with the AB, but here you got a guy who's a Mongol. So how does that work?
I wonder if it's kind of like the Sereno thing, right?
Yes.
got your
Yeah,
street
I guess
gang
when
and then
you're
you move
in,
up and
Yeah,
kinda-
you're
you
yeah.
put those
yeah,
off to the side because now it's a higher hierarchy or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And you know what, guys? When I was working at CMC, we did have a couple of us Mongols there, and I remember the names. I dealt with them; they were on my tier. A couple of Hell's Angels inside the prison. It's just like the Sureños. There's
See.
no more Mongol. There's no hate. They're now Peckerwoods. They're Peckerwoods, and believe it or not, in the prison system, the Mongols, at least in the state, I don't know about the feds. The Hell's Angels and the Mongols, dude, they're under. And they bow down to the Aryan Brotherhood. The Aryan Brotherhood, they're the big boys.
Yeah.
These guys, they're freshmen, not even JV, dude. These guys are the freshmen. Even though out in the street, Hell's Angel, and there, he's just another Peckerwood.
Yeah.
He there's no hierarchy when it comes to them.
Well,
Yeah.
the whole thing with the Mongols and the HAs, it wasn't. Well, the Mongols ended up being mostly Hispanic, but it all had to do with the bottom rocker.
Yeah.
The Mongols put down California, and the HAs said, "No, we ain't playing that. That's ours," and that's how that all started. So, but
Well,
it is.
Speaking of corridos film, I worked with Lone Grillo on the Chalino documentary. Very knowledgeable. Hey, King of Corridos, please get a hold of us. We would love to have you on, man. Especially, we love corridos. Do a special. He would be an excellent guest, and Bobby is working on that. But we would love to have you on. And guys, with that said, you know what? The next week, please do not miss. We have Juan Cephas, who's also the host for Fit PD. Juan was a great cop. I had the opportunity of working 2 or 3 shifts when I got transferred to San Isidro for a year. He was my partner. This guy, great cop, a great trainer, and a great person overall. So next week at 6 o'clock, next Tuesday, he is going to be our guest on the Gray Line. And next Wednesday, part 2 on the Aryan Brotherhood. And we're going to get into the killing of Hugo Pinel. And we're also going to get into a lot of great stuff next week. I can't wait. It's going to be an outstanding episode. Guys, anything else? Anything else that we missed? Bobby, anything else that we missed?
Nothing. Great shows. Really looking forward to this, and looking forward to having them again. And thanks everyone for joining us. If you like the show, hit the like button and share. That's it. We'll see you next week.
And Bobby, on the 18th, we have our special guest that you're bringing, right? Has he confirmed already?
Yes, it's going to be on the 19th of November.
Okay.
And we're going to set it up. We're going to be live from a cigar lounge. We're going to be really smoking cigars and drinking rum like pirates while we do the show.
And
Do you
tell
have
us,
a patch?
tell us who he is, Bobby. We've had him on, but his book is finally out. I have it. Great book. Tell us who he is.
It's Chris Faisal. They use his character in Netflix Narcos, the Colombia version. He's in season 3, episodes, I think 2 to 12, and it's his character. And it's a takedown to the Cali cartel. So he's going to be joining us on the 19th.
I can't wait. It's going to be great. Big Doug, last words, my brother.
I will have a hat next week.
Okay.
I'll figure out a hat. I will have a hat next week.
Surprise us. Surprise us.
I'll surprise you.
But Chief, please don't bring a John Bailey hat.
No.
He's gonna show up with like one of those, like those straw drinking from a beer cup up here like this.
That's right. Yes. One that'll fit a full bottle.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Brother, any last words of advice to our listeners?
No, just take care of each other out there, and like Chris Kilby always says, do your buddy checks. You check on your family members, check on your friends. It's important. Chris checked on me yesterday, so all's good. Yeah.
He checked on me today, but I was doing my volunteer work at hospice, so I couldn't get his call. And by the time I drove home, I was already late. I never returned his call, but he checked on me today, brother.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially when the holidays come in, it's a tough time.
Yes.
For a lot of people,
Yes.
the holidays can draw some people down. So, do your buddy checks. Very important.
Yeah.
Big Sean?
You know what? I want to cap on what Shalo said at the end of yesterday's show about officers getting injured and whatnot. And just last week, we've had 4 officers shot. We've had 1 killed, possibly 2 suicides, and 2 in traffic accidents, 1 on duty and 1 off duty on motorcycles. Guys and gals, take care of yourself, okay? My buddy Danny Vega, who I just saw recently, and I love you, he'd always say, if the hairs in the back of your head start standing up when you're in a situation, get out of it, okay? And then regroup and then move on. But with that said, you know what? And again, a Danny Vega comment, if you like us, tell your friends about us. If your friends don't like us, get new friends. and just be safe. Just be safe.
Brother, you know what? That hat changed you. You know what? That was a John Wayne quote, dude. That was back when I lived in Australia, we used to follow this band around, and they did a cover on a Thin Lizzy song, the Cowboy song, and it's a great song. And Thin Lizzy was an Irish band, but I love that song, and it's just, I am just cowboy, lonesome on the trail, and it just hit me. I mean, the whole song is about basically what my career ended up being on the border and stuff. So yeah, it's a great song. What a blessing. Guys, we'll see you next week. Have a safe week. And once again, like I always say, live a purpose-driven life. Make every day count and make a difference in somebody's life. It's either with a phone call, with a smile, or pay for somebody's groceries. But don't let them know that it was you. You'll receive a double blessing. The Lord definitely blesses those that give without expecting nothing in return. God bless you.
Used to spend my nights out in ballroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom.